Hi guys, sorry I'm out again, but we're going to try to use a little bit of technology to take my place while I'm home with my son. I don't know how much the other teachers told you, but he was hospitalized last week and he still needs to be on some bed rest this week, so I'm taking one more day with him, but I will be back to you guys tomorrow. So I hope the video that you watched previous to this gave you a little bit of an idea about how rate tables work. And we're going to look at kind of how I would teach the lesson if I were there. So we're starting off with our focus question: how do rate tables help us find equivalent ratios? And the definition of a rate table is a table that shows the value of a single item in terms of another item. It's used to show equivalent ratios of the two items. So it's that for every there are statement that we talked about before. So in this rate table, for every $12 there is one movie ticket. For every $24 there is two movie tickets. It's that kind of relationship. For one person there is a cost of $12. For two people there is a cost of $24. And you can find lots of interesting patterns in this table. If you notice, one pattern is for every time they add one person across the top, the price across the bottom increases by $12. So there's a lot of adding patterns in a table like this, but there are also multiplication patterns that you can see. For example, if we take this one person for $12, if we multiply the top and the bottom by 3, we can find the cost for 3 people, because 1 times 3 is 3 and 12 times 3 is 36. Or we could say, I know the price for one person and I want to find the price for 5. I know 1 times 5 gives me 5, and 12 times 5 gives me 60. So there's both additive and multiplicative patterns in a rate table. On page 48 in our book, we're talking about sharing the gummy worms again, and I know you worked on a problem like this last week while I was out. It says Crystal recorded how many segments she and her sister would get for different sizes of chewy fruit worms. Crystal thought she could use what she knew about equivalence to make a table showing the amounts. So to go ahead and take a look at the table right here. And the first question I want you to think about is, what do the 6 and 12 represent? If you want to pause the video to give yourself some extra think time, you can. If not, I'm just going to go on and show you the answer. So in this case, the 6 and the 12 are the numbers that compare the 6 segments Alexa gets to the 12 segments Crystal gets. So that means for every 6 segments Alexa gets, Crystal gets 12. What unit rate is shown in the table? And last week you should have learned that unit rate means for every 1. So for every 1 piece that Alexa gets, Crystal gets 2. So the unit rate for Alexa is 1 to 2. The unit rate for Crystal is different. For every 1 that Crystal gets, Alexa gets 1/2. So there's 2 unit rates in this table. Alexa gets 1 segment for every 2 segments Crystal gets, and Crystal gets 1 segment for every 1/2 segment that Alexa gets. If we extend the table to show that Alexa gets 20 segments, how many segments would Crystal get? So if we continued this table out to be a little bit longer, and we showed that Alexa got 20 segments of gummy worm. This is really hard to do. How many segments would Crystal get? If you need to pause the video for some think time, go ahead. If not, I'll tell you the answer. So we can see that the number of segments for Alexa doubled. And just like in the video you just watched, we want to think, what number times 10 gives us 20? Or 10 times what number gives us 20? And hopefully we know that 10 times 2 gives us 20. So that means if we're doubling the number of segments for Alexa, we also need to double the amount of segments for Crystal. And the answer would be 40. We can see Alexa's amount was doubled, so we would do the same for Crystal's. At the bottom of the page, there's another picture, and it says you can use the information in the advertisement to compute the price for any number of worms you want to buy. One way to figure out the price for a single item from a quantity price is to use the information to build a rate table. And that's what this is right here. This is called a rate table, or you might hear it called a ratio table, or a table of equivalent ratios. So the information that's given in the table is right here. That 30 worms cost $3. So we need to use what we know about equivalent ratios to figure out the rest of the prices. This table is also drawn for you on Lab Sheet 2.3, so you'll be able to fill it in on Lab Sheet 2.3. So to get you started, some of the reasoning might be that if we know that 30 worms cost $3, I'm going to look for a relationship between 30 and 90. I know that 30 times what gives me 90. So if we think about that, 30 times, if you need think time, go ahead and pause my video. If not, I know that 30 times 3 gives me 90. So if I triple the number of worms, it makes sense that it would be triple the price. So I'm also going to multiply the price by 3. And I know that 3 times 3 is 9. So you guys are going to use Lab Sheet 2.3 to answer the questions on page 49. You may work with your seat partner to answer all of these questions. You may also have a calculator if you wish. Please write the answers to the questions on the back of the lab sheet, and then you can fill out the rate tables right here on the sheet that are already pre-printed for you. Whether you're finished or not, please turn your paper in at the end of the period. Thank you guys for doing so great without me. I really appreciate all of your cooperation, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.